Welcome to another This Week in Coworking discussion.
Welcome back to the This Week in Coworking podcast feed. This is a special behind the news episode. I am your host, Hector Kolonas, and today we're talking with a whole life marketer, someone who's been in the co-working world before, someone who's been in the franchising world before, and has just announced that he's joined Vast Co-working Group as their CMO. Chris Baszto, how are you?
Doing great. Pleased to be chatting with you, and also very excited to finally put the news out there about me joining the team and being able to kind of share it. I've been kind of working in the background for a bit, so excited.
Great. So let's start there. I mean, this is obviously being announced this week, but how long, you said it's been a couple of weeks, you've already in there, you're starting to get onboarded. We're big fans, obviously, of Vast Co-working. What are your first impressions?
Yeah, so I'm 3 weeks in. I'm kind of drinking from the fire hose, so to speak, but I'm loving it. I feel so energized and excited. I'm pretty pumped up for where we're going. Paired with my hiring on the team, we also brought in a CFO on the same day. So we really added a lot of firepower to the executive leadership team on the same day. And I was very blessed that we both got to start the same day. So her name's Aslam Turk, and she has a great background in private equity, multi-location education systems. So she really has an incredible background of building engines, running high growth companies. So between the two of us, it's just been this like really fun moment to jump into like what I think is a really well functioning, well engineered organization. So we're trying to figure out what we can own and how we can build.
You can tell that you're an absolute great marketer because I asked you about your first impressions and you're already telling about all the other great things that Vast is doing, which means that this is going to be a fantastic tenure. I cannot wait to see what you get done. But let's take a few steps back, Chris. I did mention at the top of the call that you are a lifelong marketer. How did you get from, someone who was born into I'm guessing a marketing or advertising family, find himself in co-working? Like, tell me your co-working story so far.
Yeah. So the background saying I've been doing in this for a while is I'm actually second generation ad kid. My father went to art school, amazing, creative, brilliant brand mind. But so I grew up in like the glitz and glamour of the marketing industry with a creative director as a father. Like I grew up going to the video shoots. I got to meet Leslie Nielsen on a video shoot for like Rent a Car. I did all these really cool, like I grew up at the agency in that environment, learning about brand, learning about all those pieces. So I actually fell in love with my brain's the other half. I can't draw, I can't do anything on that side, but I fell in love with more of the rational thinking, more of the precision that came with digital marketing and media and growth initiatives. And I think that's really paired up for me well. My career background that led me to co-working is I started in Denver, but lived in Seattle and New York. And I've worked at agencies of all different scopes, from PR firms to large agencies in the New York market to regional small firms in Denver. So I've had clients from franchise, big tires, my Denver years to P&G, Sci-Fi Channel, Amgen Pharmaceuticals, all those things prior to running into co-working, which was completely not on my radar, not on my like trajectory at all. To answer your question, then on co-working, I was working for a PR firm in Denver, and I remember I was on a call. It was a Friday, and we had all the executive leaders of all of our 8 different offices around the country that were discussing our return to work plans.
Mhm.
It was clear that the model had changed, and we weren't quite ready to adapt. And that evening, I ran into my neighbor who happened to be a designer for Notel, who had told me that he wanted to work for this company named Industrious. They did really weird offsites, was what he told me. That night, I came across the job posting for Industrious on Monday. And so it all kind of lined up when I got the financial side of it, I got the experience side, and then I also just saw that modern large organizations were trying to figure out what is post-pandemic world going to be. And I think it was such an advantageous thing for me because I got to find this industry with like fresh eyes. I had no understanding of what co-working was, what it was through the glitz and glamour, the ebb and flow that happened pre-pandemic. Like I missed a lot of that. So I got to actually experience it with Industrious and coming back into the workplace and all the value that a shared office-based experience can bring to a professional. I got to experience that fresh. And I think it has completely shaped how I view the things because I'm genuinely the biggest flex office co-working nerd. I love it. I'm so happy.
Second biggest. You're in the same room.
But no, it genuinely, when I bumped into this, it just felt like the timing clicked.
It totally makes sense, and we got you at a great time. I like to think of us as like an industry where we attract great people, and so I'm happy that we've managed to attract you into co-working. Well, less than what 6 years ago now, where when
Probably 2021 was when I came in. It was we were figuring out what that return to work was, and even joining Industrious, we were trying to chart our path. So
yep,
yeah, it's been going on 6 years.
great. You were at Industrious. You led their marketing efforts. I'm guessing on and all the avenues that Industrious had to do. Once again, had to build a multifaceted brand, right? Is that where you
Yeah.
sat in the Industrious machine?
Yeah, so I originally came in more of a growth role, so taking over again, kind of with a lot of my background where it lined up. I took over the growth engine for the team, ended up building that base for the business, like hiring the team, figuring out what our growth strategies needed to be, what was our paid initiatives, what was our email, how we're going to use our website as a conversion engine, not just like a static thing. So I took over that side. I was working under Craig Robinson, who's a later part of my story here, but I ended up after several months in the performance role, just absorbed design, brand marketing, all of the other elements of the team, as well as our outbound broker strategies. I actually absorbed our broker agency listing program, so I got to manage that as well. So it was like I really anchored myself within the organization on all things that drove revenue for the business. And fortunately, I had a really great partnerships with the sales team, and like I genuinely had wonderful relationships with the people there and my team. But I exited when we had the acquisition with CBRE. That was kind of my perfect time. So I
Yep.
got to kind of see something through to the end that I'll always be really proud of.
And so after that, somehow, and for the only part I know about the story is you were on a bike and you got a job at Fast. Tell us about like how that came to be. Like, I mean, were you looking to rejoin the industry after your exit from Industrious, or did it just happen by happenstance?
I found Industrious and then how I found Fast were just very interesting in the sense that it just lined up. I was trying to find, I was dabbling around. I was doing some consultancy work with a multi-location businesses. I kind of like this multi-location space. I wanted to find an opportunity that was challenging and exciting to me. And I was actually trying to find my way back in and what was going to be that route. To the bike point, I was having one of those like c- consulting myself moments. I'm riding my bike around my neighborhood. I'm doing circles, and I got on the phone. I was calling my wife, and I'm like, I don't know what my next step is. I got to figure out what the thing is. I need to get engaged. I need to get amped up. I need to get like kind of challenged and working till 2 a.m. stressed out again because that just makes sense for me. It's like I need that, and she goes, "Well, you should call Craig Robinson, who is your boss at Industrious," which is what she literally told me. And I pressed the end button on my phone, and I got a text from Craig. It and then I say I almost fell off my bike because Craig actually had started working with them on the board of directors. With Vast had been recently acquired by New State. Craig was on the board. They were building this team and trying to find some resources. Fortunately, I happen to live in West Palm Beach. Our CEO Jason is based here. Our team is based here. So yeah, that's kind of how it happened. It's funny how it lined up.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like the stars are aligning to bring you back into co-working, so I'm not going to complain.
The moment I met with Jason, we started chatting. I started getting his vision for the business and how focused he was on enabling our franchisee teams and the operational side of things. And just, I was in. I was
Yep.
like, we were sprinting.
But elaborate on that for me, because I mean, I'm a big fan of Vast, but many folks don't really understand the complexity or what exactly Vast is. And why did you choose to join Vast, and why now? What do you see that it's now your job to make the rest of us see?
It's amazing what they've grown over the years. Since like 2022, I believe, it's really been an acquisition mode of we acquired two new brands into the network. Office Evolution, an intelligent office, paired up with VentureX, which was already a product and a brand I was very much a fan of. I actually even toured these locations last year. When I left, I was trying to find a new work situation for me, so I toured these spaces. So I was already a fan of the product, very much so of what we had. But I think the timing for Vast for me is that we broke off from what was originally our kind of holding company, United Franchise Group, broke off into our own team just earlier this year. And we're kind of building our own path forward. Like, that is probably the coolest time to
Mhm.
join a large scale organization that has scale. We have size, we have momentum, we have trajectory, but we now get to decide like the next stage. And there's like, with the potential, with the role for me, myself, it's kind of like two things. Like, there's this familiar half, which is like, how do we enable our local teams and support the franchise owners in these managing these spaces, like a lot of enablement and support of a growth engine to more or less get butts in seats. How do we package and distill something that's already very successful? How do we package that story up and then go out and find more franchise opportunities or investors that want to lean in? And also then paired with that growth, like, I see us eventually evolving into this kind of, I know Jason spoke about this publicly, but like this Marriott Bonvoy model of co-working, where we bring in brands into our ecosystem and have like a product mix that can fit whatever you might need out of a workplace, or even a virtual or managed office solution, which is intelligent office. So it was this really cool, unique moment. We could build something, and I love being a part of that. That's so enticing. And then a familiar challenge, and then a completely new one, which is kind of why you hear me all amped up, because
I mean, I definitely feel that energy.
that I'm familiar with, that makes me feel like I know what I'm talking about. The other sides I got to work my way into.
So, what exactly are you going to be focusing on first? Like, what is your first remit? Is it to fill more seats, or is it to grow the network? Like, you have to, ideally, you do all three. But, like, what is the first thing that you're going to be focusing on as the CMO of Vast?
We're very fortunate to that point. We're a large organization. We have 180 plus domestic locations, 200 something internationally. And like, we're very, I think, well run, very well established. We have a lot of great things already in place. I think my priority will always be enablement and support and growth of our franchise locations. Like, it's very, if you can ask any of my past colleagues, it's very near and dear to me that I want to make sure that everybody that's running our spaces feels supported and seen by their marketing teams that are supporting them from the top. It aligns really well with the model that we have here. So my biggest priority is just making sure that there's two lanes on the franchise side, that everybody that's owning a space and operating a space, no matter how actively or passively engaged they are, they feel fully enabled and supported. I want to make sure they're supported and enabled. And then also that, again, they've got all the butts and seats efficiently with the growth engine. And we're fortunate that our occupancy across the network is really healthy. It's not some raging challenge I have to go in and solve. Like, how am I going to take a budget and turn the ROAS three times over because we get significantly more efficiency out of this, that, and this? And then the second part I've got to get into is really like, how do we actually package up what's already a really efficient investment portfolio strategy, and how do I tell the story? Because right now, again, I've spoken about Jason. I think he's an amazing. See, what he's built is just phenomenal. And I spent 3 days when I started here driving around to all of our South Florida locations and hearing about all the stories about how our franchise owners are, you know, choosing their path of how they're using this to get financial independence, change careers, even grow. Like, I get to hear all these stories, and I was like, oh God, I'm like, I got to figure out who needs to hear it. So
Yes.
that's the next part.
Oh, I'm super excited for Vast. But let's kind of look a little bit further into the future, right? You've been in the marketing world for your entire life, let's be honest. Um,
Basically,
yeah. So, what are you most excited about over the next, let's say, 22 years? And what are you most like worried about or cautious about when it comes to just marketing in B2B in general?
one of the things that also is, I think, a exciting thing about this role and a forcing mechanism for me for innovation is that, like, from a resourcing and headcount, we're operating rather lean, which is, I like that concept because it forces innovation. We have really wonderful partners that are, agency solutions that are supporting us, that do a whole host of things for us. But internally, we're going to keep pretty lean in terms of the team and the staff that I'm going to build out, which that forced innovation is going to be very tech enabled, and finding the right balance of using all these new tools and systems and all the prop tech that's coming out, all the mid funnel AI driven tools that are like engaging with the funnel, and all the things that are coming out right now. The balance is going to be finding what the line of operational effectiveness for all of these tools are and just riding that, because 1 year from now, it's going to be amazing what we can do. It's already phenomenal what I'm
Yep.
able to do now. I'm just, I want to build a team that's engineered for where we're going. And also, again, it's a cool moment to join a team where we've got scale, we've got size, I've got toys to play with, I got great partners in here, but I'm getting to build with me coming in this central role and taking over market. I get to kind of build the thing that's going to be, engineered for where we're going.
Yep.
All the growth engines are changing. So yeah,
I mean, I'm completely on board with you. I mean, we have a saying at Syncaroo, what got you here won't get you there. So I completely am on board with like completely reinventing or reimagining how systems work, how processes are built, how these are actually implemented. So I am very excited to see what you learn there. Anything you're like worried about or cautious about that, headwinds that you're keeping an eye on, maybe out of the side of your eye?
I want to make sure that we're able to consistently demonstrate the value that comes from a franchise relationship and how it can weather any sort of changes in the ecosystem and like what's happening outside in the economy. I want to be able to tell the story about how like our investments and investment in this space in this industry is a really stable, consistent one, because that's actually the truth,
Mhm.
to my point. And making sure I can kind of navigate that is going to be a thing.
Yep. And so if you could tell or give one story or one message to the rest of the co-working world as Chris, what would that message be? Like,
Oof, caught me. I gotta punt on this one. Sorry.
no worries. You go for it.
I think if I was going to say just a massive thing to just the entire co-working industry as a whole and where we're coming, I think of the world and where I like to tell stories is like, I know from a co-working industry, from a real estate industry, we speak a lot and focus a lot on the actual physical spaces themselves. And I understand its location and functionality for a lot of the driving factors around what leads consumer to buy either it's space for their team or for themselves. But I really think the stories that happen in our spaces is the most endearing and powerful thing that we could do more of telling. And I think some teams have evolved really well and done a great job at bringing those stories up. I can walk around one of our spaces. That's what I used to love to do, travel and go walk around the space and just see all of these businesses that are just like planting their new stake in the ground and creating something. And they all want to talk about it. They all want to be a part of the storytelling of what we're doing and how we're there for them, how we support them, how they connect them to community, or just give them something, a space to feel like they made it. Like I, this is my first single office. I have like almost an executive suite. It's like, it's there's like that thing that hits you that we can provide in our industry. I think is special. And like I
Mhm.
said, some folks are doing a really great job at telling that story, and I think that's going to be one of the things I'm going to focus on. It's
You
a little
absolutely.
it's a little pie in this, and then I'm like the complete nerd that's going to sit there and focus about like my paid search campaigns and how am I going to drive conversion rate from blah 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 to get my lead to tour conversion rate up. But I'm then my heart is in the
Yes.
that bigger story because it's there.
It's definitely there.
I think with the advent of AI, you're hearing all these stories about the enterprise organizations are changing their staffing structures, there's shifts in employment and all these things. Like new jobs are going to be created, all those things, but there's
Mhm.
going to be a lot of amazing folks that are spinning out and saying, you know what, I'm done with this.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden I can create software. I can create platforms. I can create tools. I can solve all the issues that I had in my previous role. And I think a lot of those folks are going to be coming into vast spaces.
Mhm.
A lot of those people that are going to create a new company spinning out of what is being now becoming available to us.
Yep.
I think we're going to be able to provide a home for a lot of them because we are going to have products, we are going to have brands that can solve them for their entire life cycle. From you just need a virtual office, you need a phone answering system. Like we actually have that service available. You just stay at home, get a virtual assistant, get a mailbox. You can then move into a co-working space, an office space, and then when you get a full team, you can move up into a bigger space. Like we can actually support that life cycle. And I feel like as we continue to grow, as we continue to put locations in all the communities around all these hubs, cities and things, I think we're going to be very well positioned to be that first home base.
I love that. And I cannot wait to reshare those stories. Chris, thank you so much for joining me. Welcome and congrats on the new role. I can't wait to see what you and the Vast Group do together.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. This was awesome.
My pleasure.
Thanks, sir.